by SVTO. So today in this lesson we will learn about layers of the atmosphere. Within this topic we will learn about the various layers of the atmosphere like Homosphere, Heterosphere, Troposphere, Stratosphere, Mesosphere, Thermosphere and Exosphere. As we all know that our earth is covered or surrounded by a blanket of gases which is called as atmosphere. So the vertical structure of the atmosphere varies or differs from the surface of the earth to the space. Like we have studied in the previous lesson, as the height increases in the atmosphere, the air gets rare or the air becomes less, as a result of which the density decreases with the increasing height. So now we will discuss about the vertical structure of the atmosphere. The vertical structure of the atmosphere can be discussed in two ways. Number one, based on variation in temperature. Number two, based on chemical composition. So, based on variation in temperature, the vertical structure of the atmosphere or the layers of the atmosphere have been divided into 5 layers. And the 5 following layers are Troposphere, Stratosphere, Mesosphere, Thermosphere and Exosphere. In the same way, based on chemical composition, the layers of the atmosphere have been divided into 2 layers, that is Homosphere and Heterosphere. So, in this lesson, we will try to learn about the vertical structure of the atmosphere based on variation in temperature and based on chemical composition. So now let us learn about the layers of the atmosphere based on chemical composition. So based on chemical composition, the layers of the atmosphere have been divided into 2 layers, that is Homosphere and Heterosphere. So now we'll try to understand what is Homosphere. See, this Homosphere, it is made up of 2 words, that is homo and sphere. Homo means same or uniform, sphere means region. So Homosphere is the region in the atmosphere that extends from 0 kilometers sea level up to the height of 80 kilometers above the earth's surface in the atmosphere. The chemical composition of the atmosphere or the different gases that are present in this atmosphere remains same or remains uniform. This layer of the atmosphere is called as Homosphere. Let me repeat again. From 0 kilometers to 80 kilometers, the various gases that are present in this atmosphere remains same or uniform. This layer is called as Homosphere. So the second layer based on chemical composition is Heterosphere. So now let us understand what is Heterosphere. See, from or above the Homosphere, that is from 80 km up to the height of 10,000 km, that is the upper limit of the atmosphere, the chemical composition of the atmosphere or the different gases that are present in this particular layer of the atmosphere are not uniform. They are not same. They vary from region to region or from one layer to another layer. That means this particular Heterosphere is formed in such a way that a spherical layer of various gases have been formed. Like you can see, there is one layer over here, another layer of another gas, another layer of another gas. See, this particular layer where the chemical composition of the atmosphere or the gases differ from one place to another place in the atmosphere. This layer is called as heterosphere. And this heterosphere, like I told you, it is arranged in spherical cells. That means there is one layer of one particular gas, another layer of another gas. So depending upon this, heterosphere have been further subdivided into 4 sub layers. See, what are they? The 4 sub layers are nitrogen layer, oxygen layer, helium layer and hydrogen layer. So now let me give you all some more idea about these 4 sub layers of heterosphere. See, the nitrogen layer is the layer in the atmosphere where there is the presence of the maximum amount of nitrogen. And this nitrogen layer extends from 80 km to 200 km in the atmosphere. And this layer, as you can see in this diagram, this layer is called as nitrogen layer. And the second one is oxygen layer. The layer where the molecules of oxygen are arranged in layers. That layer is called as oxygen layer. And this oxygen layer extends from 200 km to 1100 km in the atmosphere. And this layer is what we call as oxygen layer. And the third layer of heterosphere is helium layer. The layer where there is the maximum presence of helium, which is arranged in spherical layer. Okay, that is called as helium layer. And this helium layer extends from 1100 km to 3500 km above the Earth's surface. And finally, the fourth layer is hydrogen layer. The hydrogen layer is the layer where there is the maximum presence of hydrogen and which is arranged in a spherical order. And this hydrogen layer extends from 3500 kilometers to the uppermost limit of the atmosphere, 10,000 kilometers. So I hope you understood the 2 layers of the atmosphere based on chemical composition, that is homosphere and heterosphere. Let me repeat once again. Homo means same or uniform, sphere means region. So homosphere is the layer of the atmosphere where the chemical composition or the different gases are uniform or same. In the same way, heterosphere is the layer of the atmosphere where the chemical composition of the gases does not remain uniform. It varies from one layer to another layer. That layer is called as heterosphere. Homosphere extends from 0 to 80 km above the Earth's surface, and heterosphere extends from 80 to 10,000 km above the Earth's surface. So now let us learn about the layers of the atmosphere based on variation in temperature. So as previously discussed, based on variation in temperature, the layers of the atmosphere have been divided into 5 layers. Let me show in this diagram. The first one is troposphere, second layer is stratosphere, third layer is mesosphere, fourth layer is thermosphere, and the fifth or the last layer is exosphere. So now let us understand what is troposphere. So the troposphere is the lowermost, as you can see over here, there are 5 layers. First or the lowermost layer of the atmosphere is troposphere. So troposphere is the lowermost layer of the atmosphere where temperature decreases with increasing height. As you can see over here, the red line indicates temperature. Okay, so if this is 0 degrees Celsius, and you can see this is the uppermost limit of troposphere. it is 0 degrees Celsius over here, but when it reaches over here, then the temperature falls to approximately minus 60 degrees Celsius over here. So what you can see over here is that the temperature is decreasing with the increase in height. So troposphere is the lowermost layer of the atmosphere where temperature decreases with increasing height, and all the atmospheric phenomenon. See, what is atmospheric phenomenon like cloud, rainfall, water vapor, thundering, and many other atmospheric phenomenon that takes place is called as troposphere. So let me repeat again. Troposphere is the lowermost limit of the atmosphere where temperature decreases with increasing height and all the atmospheric phenomenon takes place. So now let us understand some characteristics of troposphere. Some characteristics, say, first one, height. The troposphere extends from 0 to 8 km above the Earth's surface, and this height varies. Okay, like for example, if this is our Earth, the height of the troposphere at this equator, and at the poles, it varies. Like the height of the troposphere at the poles is 8 km, whereas in the equatorial region it will be somewhat 18 km. So this is the first characteristics. And second characteristics you should remember, that is normal lapse rate. See, what is normal lapse rate? The decrease of temperature with increase in height, or the increase of height, decrease in temperature at the rate of, see, you have to remember this, at the rate of 6.5 degrees Celsius for every 1000 meter or 1 kilometer up. That is called as normal lapse rate. Let me repeat again. The increase of height with decrease of temperature at the rate of 6.5 degrees Celsius for every 1 kilometer or 1000 meter ascent upward. It's called as normal lapse rate. This is the second characteristics. And third characteristics, atmospheric weather phenomenon. All the atmospheric weather phenomenon like the formation of water vapor, the formation of clouds, the occurrence of rainfall, presence of dust particles, and many other weather phenomenon takes place in this troposphere. So I hope you understood troposphere. Remember, lowermost layer, height 0 to 8 km at the poles and 0 to 18 km at the equator. Normal lapse rate, that is 6.5 degrees Celsius for every 1 kilometer or 1000 meter, and weather phenomenon. So now let us understand what is tropopause. Tropopause is the upper boundary of the troposphere from where temperature stops decreasing with increasing height. Listen carefully. Tropopause is the upper boundary of the troposphere from where temperature stops decreasing with increasing height. That means in this particular zone the temperature remains constant. Like for example, if it is 60 degree minus 60 degrees Celsius, then up to a certain height the temperature will remain same, and this layer or this zone is actually called as tropopause. So now let us learn about the second layer of atmosphere, that is stratosphere. So what is stratosphere? Stratosphere is the second layer of the atmosphere which lies above tropopause. Stratosphere is the second layer of the atmosphere which lies above tropopause. This layer is called as stratosphere. So let me explain you all some characteristics of stratosphere. See, the first characteristics of stratosphere: height. Normally, stratosphere extends from 8 to 50 kilometer. 8 to 50 kilometer, as you can see in this diagram, 8 to 50 kilometer. This is stratosphere. But the height differs in equator and poles. In the polar regions or in the poles, the height of the stratosphere ranges from 8 to 50 kilometer, whereas in the equator region, the height of the stratosphere differs from 18 kilometer to 80 kilometer. I hope you are understanding. 18 kilometer to 80 kilometer. That is the first characteristics, that is height. The second characteristics is variation in temperature. See, in this particular layer of the atmosphere, that is stratosphere, the temperature starts increasing. See, this is the peculiar characteristics of stratosphere. Like when we studied about troposphere, with the increasing height, the temperature was decreasing. But in this stratosphere, with the increasing height, the temperature increases. As you can see over here, the red color line indicates, like in this particular tropopause, the temperature was approximately minus 60 degrees Celsius. But as it increases its height, the temperature is increasing. So finally, when it reaches to the height of 50 kilometer, the temperature will increase approximately up to 0 degree Celsius. That means in this layer, the variation of the temperature is very peculiar. With the increasing height, the temperature increases. So this is the second characteristics. Third characteristics is existence of ozone layer. As you can see over here in this diagram, I have shaded with the pencil over here ozone layer. See, what is ozone layer? In the stratosphere, between 20 to 45 kilometer. See, in the stratosphere, between 20 to 45 kilometer, there is a huge concentration of ozone gases. Huge concentration of ozone gases. This layer is called as ozone layer. Let me repeat again. In the layer of stratosphere, between 20 to 45 kilometers, there is the huge concentration of ozone gases, and this layer is called as ozone layer. So this is the third characteristics of stratosphere. And the fourth characteristics is weather phenomenon. See, in this stratosphere, the clouds will be very rare. That means there will be very few clouds in this particular layer. As a result, the atmospheric phenomenon will not take place, like thundering, lightning or rainfall, formation of cloud. This sort of a thing will be absent over here. As a result of which, the aeroplanes or the jet planes, they fly in this particular layer. See, I have made a symbol of aeroplane over here, which indicates that the jet planes or the aeroplanes, they fly in this stratosphere layer. So now let us understand what is stratopause. Stratopause is the upper limit of stratosphere. Stratopause is the upper limit of stratosphere that is bounded by a transitional zone. Transitional zone. See, what is transitional zone means? This particular transitional zone from where the changes takes place. But in this particular transitional zone, everything remains uniform, same. But from that particular transitional zone upward, it starts changing. Okay, that particular layer of the atmosphere above stratosphere is called as stratopause. So now let us learn about the third layer of the atmosphere, that is Mesosphere. So let's understand what is Mesosphere. Mesosphere is the third layer of the atmosphere that lies between stratosphere and thermosphere. As you can see in this diagram, this layer is stratosphere and this layer is thermosphere. So mesosphere lies between thermosphere and stratosphere. That's why this is the third layer of the atmosphere that lies between stratosphere and thermosphere. So let us learn some characteristics of mesosphere. See, the first characteristics I have written here: height. The height of the mesosphere extends from 50 km to 80 km. The height of the mesosphere extends between 50 km to 80 km. This is the first characteristics. Second characteristics: temperature. See, in this particular layer of the atmosphere, that is mesosphere, in this layer the temperature starts decreasing with the increasing height. Or in short, it can be said that the inversion of the temperature takes place in this layer, as a result of which the temperature decreases with increasing height, and the temperature sometimes falls up to minus 90 degrees Celsius or minus 100 degrees Celsius. You can see over here the red line, and if you see exactly below, it is approximately minus 90 degrees Celsius or minus 100 degrees Celsius. The temperature falls up to minus 100 degree or minus 90 degrees Celsius. That's why out of these 5 layers, this mesosphere is the coldest layer of the atmosphere. As you can see over here, the red color line that indicates no other line is showing the temperature approximately up to minus 90 or minus 100 degree Celsius. So remember the second characteristics, that is temperature. The temperature falls up to minus 90 or minus 100 degrees Celsius. Here, with increasing height, the temperature decreases. As a result, inversion of temperature takes place over here. That's why mesosphere is the coldest layer of the atmosphere. So let us learn about a third characteristics, that is absence of ozone. In this layer, there is no presence of ozone gases. The ozone gases are completely absent. Like in this stratosphere, we came to know about the ozonosphere or the ozone layer. But in this mesosphere, there is no presence of any ozone gases. So this is the third characteristics. Fourth characteristics: meteors. All the meteors that come from the outer space and try to enter into our earth, okay, as it tries to enter in our earth, as those meteors, I have made with the pencil over here, these meteors, as it enters into this mesosphere, it gets burnt or it gets destroyed in this layer. As a result, mesosphere tries to protect our earth from all the meteors that try to enter in our earth. So this is the fourth characteristics. I hope you understood what is mesosphere. So now let us learn what is mesopause. See, the mesopause is the upper limit of mesosphere or upper boundary of mesosphere that lies exactly between thermosphere and mesosphere. Mesopause is the upper limit or upper boundary of mesosphere that lies between thermosphere and mesosphere. So now let us learn about the fourth layer of the atmosphere, that is thermosphere. So let's understand what is thermosphere. Thermosphere is the fourth layer of the atmosphere that lies between mesosphere and exosphere, where the temperature rapidly increases and it becomes nearly 1480 degree Celsius. Let me repeat again. Thermosphere is the fourth layer of the atmosphere that lies between Mesosphere and Exosphere, where the temperature rapidly increases and it becomes approximately 1480 degree Celsius. This layer of the atmosphere is called as thermosphere. So now let's learn some characteristics of thermosphere. See, first, the first characteristics, height. The height of thermosphere extends from 80 km to 500 km in the atmosphere. Let me repeat again. The height of the thermosphere extends from 80 km to 500 km. So this is the first characteristic. Second characteristics, that is temperature. Like I told you all before, in this layer thermosphere, the temperature rapidly increases and it increases approximately up to 1480 degrees Celsius. And why? What is the reason behind the increase of the temperature in this thermosphere? The reason is this layer, that is thermosphere, absorbs all the X-rays and ultraviolet, shortcoming ultraviolet rays that is coming in our earth. This thermosphere absorbs all the X-rays and the UV rays, as a result of which the temperature rapidly increases in thermosphere. So this is the second characteristic. The third characteristic is ionization. See, due to the rapid increase of the temperature, the air becomes very rare. Due to rare air and high temperature, ionization takes place. So let us learn now the fourth characteristics, that is radio waves. The radio waves that are transmitted from the earth, that means if this is the earth, the radio wave is transmitted from the earth, it reaches to the thermosphere and this layer re-radiates the radio waves back into the earth's surface, as a result of which this layer helps in maintaining the radio communication. It helps in maintaining radio communication. And the fifth characteristics is aurora. See, what are auroras? Auroras are strange polar lights. Auroras are strange polar lights. The strange polar lights that are produced in the northern hemisphere are called aurora borealis, and the strange polar lights that are produced in the southern hemisphere are called aurora australis. So I hope you understood thermosphere. So now let us learn the last layer of the atmosphere, that is exosphere. See, exosphere is the last or the fifth layer of the atmosphere that merges with the space. Let me repeat again, what is exosphere? Exosphere is the fifth layer of the atmosphere that merges or mixes with the space. This layer is called as exosphere. And exosphere extends from 500 km up to 10,000 kilometers. So my dear learners, today in this lesson we studied about the layers of the atmosphere based on variation in temperature and chemical composition. I hope you have understood this lesson. So hope to see you all in the next class. Stay safe, stay learning. Thank you.